Well, hi guys and girls, Emma again, welcome back to the spare room. Bit of a foreigner happening here tonight. This little flywheel, which is off a PM Research twin cylinder steam engine. A good friend of mine's having a bit of trouble machining it on his Shoreline. We've got some harmonics happening with the flywheel like you always do. And it's not as easy a project as you always think when you start off. So I've given it some thought and we're going to fix it. I haven't really had a good look at it, but I have had a look at the drawings, which I have a copy of. And if we have a look here, that's the flywheel, which is going to be 7/8 wide, and it's got a 5-degree crown on it, which is a bit strange, but it'll run a belt. It should be 3 inches diameter on the outside. It's got a grub screw in it, and it's reamed 1/4 inch in the middle. How hard can it be? So there, we sort of got that down pat. Now my friend set it up in the four-jaw and he's faced one side and his machine is in here, which probably wasn't such a clever idea, but we'll have to make both sides the same now. Sort of hurt if it's a fraction narrower here when we clean it up. And we've got about probably 100 thou, something like that on each side there. This probably just wants to be sort of face to fit. Face to be the same as this on both sides won't hurt. And we need to see where the hole is, whether we've got to actually bore this out and plug it and re-ream it, I'm not sure, but if we've got to do that we will. I don't like the look of that hole all that much, so let's see what we can do about that. Let's have a look over at the lathe and see sort of how it runs. So what I've found is found a bit of 1/4 inch silver steel, which should clean up nicely. It's got a little bit of a burr on there, so I'm going to turn that round in the chuck. It's got a worse burr on that end. It's obviously had a grub screw running on it. I might just take that off very carefully. Right, I'm going to chuck this up. Just doesn't matter much where it is. And sit that on there. And that'll give us some sort of indication of how much wobble's in it. Just going to find the low side. It's 7, 8, 4, 3, 4, 7, 9, 4, 5. Around here we're about 12. Look, that's within 10 thou on the outside there, so he's set that up pretty good and he's got it pretty close. There's nothing much shabby about that. If we turn this around, we'll have a look here. That's on the back there is within about a couple of thou too. That's probably heaps good enough. I'm not really got an issue with that. What is more of a problem is that when we put a grub screw in this, I'm suspicious that that's too loose there and it's going to kick sideways a bit and everything's going to be out of wobble. So two ways we could do that. We could put a grub screw in it first and lock it on here. I don't think that's good enough to drive this to machine it, so I'm not going to do that. what I'm probably going to do with this is start again. I'm going to set this up in the 4-jaw, and I'm going to get it running nice and true that way, and I'm going to get it running nice and true on this flange, and then I'm going to run a boring bar through there until a little piece of brass fits in it nicely, which I'm going to make first, and then machine this face, this face, this face, this face, and bore it, and then we can set it, we can turn it around and set it up again so it's running nice and true on here and on this face, and we can machine the other face and machine this and this, and we should be pretty good. There shouldn't be anything too shabby or wrong with that at all. If this was a fresh casting, I'd be inclined just to set it up on the reverse jaws and on the 3-jaw. It's not really, and it's going to be out a little bit, so because we want this set up so that we don't have to machine this inside again and clean it up, I'm going to set this up in the 4-jaw and get it right. So that's going to take a little while. First job will be to machine a little piece of brass to go in there first, and probably it's as simple as cleaning up a piece of bar stock and cutting it off a little bit oversized and putting it aside. So let's do that. So to give you some idea, I've got that set up and I've just slightly cleaned this up. It was probably half a thou out. I set it up on this surface here and inside there, and it was nice and flat there. I've cleaned this side up, I've cleaned this one up. I've run a boring bar through there so that this little piece of brass is a nice slip fit. Oh, it's a good fit there, I like that. A bit of not mucking about Loctite primer. A nice clean rag. And some I'm not mucking about Loctite. That's in there, and when that dries, probably tomorrow night, I'm going to face this and ream it, drill it and ream it and get it nice. Probably then I'll set the tompone around and get this angle on the outside edge halfway along. We need to measure this, I guess, see how far off 7/8 of an inch it is, 825 thou, 875 thou. If it's not close, then we're just going to take it off until it's halfway plus less about 10 thou, and we're going to take 10 thou off the other end, and that's going to be good enough, and it'll be in the middle and nice. But we need to make sure this sets up first, and it already sort of is firm in there. It's not going to move, I don't think. That's in there for good. I'll face this off again tomorrow night, and we'll see how we're going from there. But so far that's looking pretty good. So there we go. I've got this crown pretty close to eye, and I think that's probably good enough. I use that phrase a lot. And get things as accurate as you can, guys, but if this is eye sweet in the middle, that's all it needs to be. It needs to run true. This looks like it needs to be in the middle, this ridge. It needs to be the same diameter on each side, and it doesn't need to do anything else. So if it looks good, it probably is. If it looks like it's going to annoy you forever, fix it. But that's all cleaned up, and I've broken all the edges and it's nice and smooth. This hole looks really good. I'm going to break this edge here just on the front of the flywheel, just with the tool on the front of the boss, because it is quite sharp, and if you break it a little bit then both sides are going to look the same, whereas if you leave it sharp, one side's going to look a little bit different to the other probably. So that's a bit of a trick. Next job will be to take this out and mount this up on here on the inside jaws on the 3 jaw. Not the world's most fun job. I'm going to use shims on it, and I'm going to mess around and get this running nice and true on the outside and nice and flat up against this surface, and then we'll clean this out. We probably need to measure this first and write down that measurement so we get the other one the same, and we're starting to look like it's going to be a nice little flywheel. So all I've done is set this up, and I use the magic indicator holder, which kind of is amazing actually. I'm wondering how I ever lived without that. That was an easy job just to set this up. I've cleaned this edge up and only need a couple of thou off it because this was tapped back in nicely against the jaws. And I've cleaned this up here. Next job is to machine this out to 69mm, which is the closest. It's a very close measurement to what it was, and because it's a metric lathe, I'd rather measure something and make it the same in metric rather than imperial. But I'm going to break that edge there the same as I did the other one before I forget, and then I'm going to run a boring bar in here and clean this up just nicely the same as the other side. This is all packed up with shims, so hopefully we haven't scratched or marked anything, and then I'm going to just give it a good rub up with steel wool, and I'm going to say my bit's done. Somehow in the last 2 hours my workbench has got messy again. I've got bits here that I was looking for a spring to go in a watch that I can't get parts for, so I'll pack them all up again in a minute. But what we've got is this flywheel, right? I'm pretty confident there's no wobble in that. That's all cleaned up nice on both sides. It really looks pretty good. This is about what fit the reamed hole should be. For a flywheel, that's what I would expect, and I'm pretty happy about that. I'm really happy about that, so I'm going to post it back tomorrow. But I just thought everyone might like a bit of a look at how you can rescue a casting. It's not really castings are expensive, and if you stuff one up, it's sort of wrecks the project. But if you get in straight away and fix it, get in touch with me and post it to me if you're not real sure, or if it's above you, if you've taken on a project that's above your machine's capabilities. I'm sure we can find someone to sort that out. Without a whole lot of dramas, and it's a community that we should be pretty proud to be part of, and that's how that needs to be in there. The only other job to do on this is to drill this. I would be reluctant to if it was me, because a grub screw is always going to mark your shaft, and it's going to leave a nasty burr on it if you ever take it off. So I would be inclined, this is a pretty good fit, I would be inclined, if it was my engine, just to set the end cranks up, and this is just a straight shaft goes through here with a crank on each end. Set the end cranks up so that they're in the right spot and it looks pretty good. Then tap that on with a little bit of blue Loctite or a thread locker. I wouldn't use anything as strong as this, but just tap it on, leave it overnight. It's never going to come off. It doesn't need to ever come off. And if you've ever got to do the bearings again, sit up on it and give it a tap. But it only needs a tiniest drop to hold that, and that'll be a nice job. Anyway, my $2 worth is what I think is a pretty nice flywheel. Pretty happy with that. Lines in the middle, and it's the same on both sides, and it's pretty even, and it's not going to wobble. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Be kind to each other. More soon, guys and girls.